But if you happen to have the worldview that there is one absolute reality without a second, that's in a minority. And I just want to suggest, just consider this possibility. How does a theist look at somebody with the worldview we're talking about? In all likelihood, they're going to consider us an atheist that is opposition and wrong. How is a strong atheist going to view what we're doing? They're going to put us in the bucket with the theists. And so what you end up is, what I playfully say, sitting home alone. And you end up feeling a little left out, which is one of the reasons that we need fellowship and satsang. Because if you feel threatened, I don't care if you're talking about Maslow's needs hierarchy or the teachings of yoga. She told us earlier about the 5 colorings, one of which is fear. So you finally end up, you've constructed a reality of who you think you are, and it's like, don't anybody blow on my house of cards, because we want to protect ourselves. It's built in. It's built into how we're created. There is a notion, a debate goes on between Darwinianism, or whatever you call, that's saying everything just came out of just matter. It's just something like that. The other end is creationism, sometimes called intelligent design, that says there is an intelligent designer, and his name is God, and then footnote, if you don't like my version, then I'm going to kill you, or something like that. Sorry, sarcastic. There's another version, and I play with it just to play with the words. It's not intelligent design as a being doing something, and it's not just a materialistic universe, but there is intelligence manifesting. But there is consciousness itself that is somehow manifesting as the universe. And for the most part, that's not part of the public debate in America or the world. It gets just not mentioned or left out. And the only place you can find it is when you dig deep into the mystical practices and teachings of any of the known religions of the world. Why do you think they send them off to the deserts and the forests and hang them and burn them and shoot them and all this stuff? Because you're in a minority. And I am not sincerely saying that to say, look at us, we're cool, we're right, and all those other people are screwed up. I'm not saying it to say that. But if you're off the edge of the bell curve, if you're in a minority, you better hang out with some people of approximate mind, or the rest of the world is going to trample over you. I've seen it over and over and over and over. I have wondered in my life of trying to be of service, once I finally knew what this was all about, by grace of somebody or something. I say, what happens to wonderful people? If you are in a minority, you're going to be quiet. When we were starting this center, when we were talking about this, when the idea first came to me that says we should have a center like this, and some of those conversations started, the question I was posing was this: why is it when we're having a conversation like this in public and somebody walks up, why do you drop the volume of your voice? Something's wrong in our environment. Why is it the monotheists not only don't drop their voice, they raise their voice? I'm not trying to change them. The reason I'm saying this is, please make note, if you know that tendency of what I just said, to drop your voice when you're having a conversation such as we're having here in the presence of somebody else, don't take my word for it, but I'll suggest to you that the reason is fear. It's fear of some social, familial, public consequence. There's a polarity: theism, atheism, yoga, and fear. How do I contemplate? We've been talking today, Bill has mentioned several times, but there are many paths, there are many ways to do this. Personally, I love reading the red words of the Bible, because I see it through the eyes of non-dualism. I'm not a preacher, I don't go out and do that, but yet I do that. But the language that I know, every field, pharmacology has its own language, psychology has its language. Well, the science, the art of meditation, contemplation, enlightenment has its own language. It doesn't mean there's only one. There may be multiple ones. But the one that I happen to be around, and I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but we use words like karma. Well, the word karma comes from Sanskrit. That's just the reality of it. There's a lot of real lovely words. We have one word called G-O-D, that there are multiple words that are used in the study of meditation and practices. There's not just one word. We have to, in our language, use that same word for many different meanings, and we don't know different meanings. We throw around the word meditation, and we don't realize that there are different words that are used in the science of meditation. So we can get goofed up. You look up in the dictionary contemplation, it's going to say something like meditation. You look up in the dictionary meditation, it's going to say something like contemplation. So the two are interchangeable. Well, they're not. What we just did a few minutes ago is in the arena of meditation. I don't mean it's the only way to meditate, but notice that what we did is we moved attention inward, systematically through levels. If you want to give it a name, call it Raja Yoga meditation. But when I prefaced that, when I started that, I did so by saying that whatever method you follow, you're going to eventually discover that it's a systematic process going from outer to little inner, something along those lines. And I don't care what religion you follow, what culture you're from, this is the way we are designed as beings. And I don't mean take our Sanskrit words that define it this way and you have to believe that, but you will find that it's systematic. In my opinion, that's the beginning of Genesis in the Old Testament. In the beginning, God manifested heaven and earth, and it was good. And then the Lord said, let there be light, and there was light. Which came first, talking or light? Lord said, let there be light. So first there's sound vibration, then there's light. In the fields that we know, we call that mantra and yantra. And tantra is the method of dealing with them. Different systems, different language, same process. That said, what is contemplation? There is a stance. I want to use the word stance. Contemplation is a stance of anticipating. Meditation is a stance of focus. That's what we just did. Prayer is a stance of beckoning. Mantra is a stance of affirming.